Welcome into the Blitz Breakdown presented by Blitzalytics.com, where scouting meets analytics and you meet the newest crop of off-field talent. Today I am joined by Jason Feiner on our new edition of Feiner Fridays. It's been a while, Jason, and I also have the newest addition to the Blitz team, Mr. Jake Schellenberg. He is our intern. He is the one handling a bunch of stuff for us, and he's been kicking butt, so we figured we'd give him a little time off, a little leisure, and make sure he gets to have a little fun with us, specifically because his Broncos did win last night, which we will get into. But first and foremost, gentlemen, how are we doing today?
Pretty
Glad
good,
to be
pretty
here.
good,
Happy
Jack.
to be back.
All right, guys, can't talk over each other. One at a time. Just kidding. But yes, I'm glad to have you back, Jason. And it's been a while. I have missed your dry humor and your bluntness. You know, you and me enjoy that, being as forward and as honest as possible. Some people don't appreciate it. You're one of my favorite people for that. And Jake, how does it feel for you to finally get rid of that O in front of that 3?
It feels good, Jack. Well, first of all, appreciate you having me on. Getting to experience this is really cool. But yeah, just coming into the game yesterday, I thought to myself, man, if we don't win this game, our season is in a lot of trouble. So I'm just really happy we got the win. And like I said, like I was telling you earlier, a win's a win in this league, no matter who it's against. So I'm just happy we came out of it with a win, and despite kind of what happened throughout the game, some ups and downs, but yeah, it's good to just have a win and be 1-3, and we kind of carry on from here on out. So,
How do you feel about what happened towards the end of the game with the defense and some of those blatant? I don't know if I necessarily call them 100% cheap shots, but it was very.
And a Greg Williams defense, we know what it
very
is.
characteristic of a Greg Williams defense to be doing that. Again, though, I don't think that those were late hits. That last one was a hit to the head, lean in with the shoulder,
Right.
but definitely a helmet-to-helmet contact. So what is your take on that? And then what is your take on Vic Fangio pulling his guys and heading straight to the locker room?
well, I mean, first of all, you guys brought up Greg Williams, and back in his days with the Browns. And the defense they had there a couple years ago with Greg Williams, there was a lot of uncharacteristic and just not, the players weren't being disciplined enough, and it kind of showed that last night, and kind of the tail end of the game there, like you and I talked about, Jack, that Quinn Williams face mask, gave us a big advantage for us to get the first down, and McManus came out and kicked that field goal. And then just a few other unnecessary penalties with even less than 10 seconds to go. So, I mean, that's just kind of on the Jets' part unacceptable. And, for us, it's good because we got advantages from those and ended up winning the game, probably because of those penalties. So, I mean, good for us that we, took advantage of those and were able to get to the win. But, when you're looking at the Jets, you got to be a lot more disciplined than that. And it's funny because with that face mask call, they originally called this on 93. I'm blanking on the name, but they called it on 93 instead of Quinn Williams, which I thought was kind of interesting too. But yeah, just too many unnecessary penalties for the Jets at the very end of the game. And Vic Fangio, going back to your second question, was a little aggravated by that. And not only Fangio was, but apparently a lot of other guys on the sideline were as well. And, they have the right to be. So, I mean, it was good for Fangio to step up there and, I mean, have his guys back and have the backs for each other in order to not go on the field and show sportsmanship at the end, because of the fact that the Jets weren't really being sportsmanlike during those last few minutes of the game. So I can totally understand where Fangio is coming from, and like you said, he gathered up the players and they just went straight to the locker room. And my friend also told me yesterday, who is actually going to be listening to this podcast, he said that Fangio apparently didn't even shake hands with Adam Gase either. So I completely understand where Fangio is coming from. Very old school type of style in terms of his coaching and just, going about his daily life, because he is 71 or 72 years old. So, but at any rate, yeah, I just think I think it was a good the right decision for them not to show sportsmanlike, tactics if the Jets weren't going to do it back to them in those last few minutes of the game. So that's my take on what
you're getting a
happened
little
those
harsh
last
on
few
your
minutes.
boy Vic Fangio. He's only 62 years old, so
62.
not 72. So he's still
62.
got
I
some.
was
He's
I
still
was
got
a
some
little bit
time.
off.
Oldest head coaches in the league are Pete Carroll, Bill
Pete
Belichick, and then
Carroll,
Arians.
that's
Yeah.
right.
So
That's right.
moving on to the other
I was
side
a
of the
little off
ball,
there.
and before we get into Adam Gase or we get into anything else about Greg Williams, let's talk about a little bit of Sam Darnold. Jason, what did you see from him last night? He obviously made some plays. That run was quite impressive, but I thought it was kind of funny that he thought about sliding. He was getting ready to slide.
Right.
He didn't slide. And then I don't know how many times where he thought he was going to roll out of the pocket, and he didn't roll out of the pocket. And then when he tried to, I mean, to me, his decision making is just terrible. He doesn't even know what he's doing on the field. What did you see from him last night? Because there was some beautiful throws, but at the same time, I was kind of impressed when Flacco took in because his decision making was pinpoint. As soon as the route was being run, the ball was being thrown, and so I was a little bit even more impressed with the few throws Flacco made more so than I was with Sam Darnold. What is your take on this Jets offense with the lacking of any form of an offensive line, with the lack of any weapons? Is this really Sam Darnold's fault? And what do you see with him in the future? Can he remain a Jet?
It's uninspiring. I do believe he can remain a Jet. He just needs to have a stable offense, a stable offensive line. Is he the Jets' future? Probably not. It's been 3 years. He hasn't developed. Going back to his collegiate days, his mistakes came when he held onto the ball, when he saw the opening and refused to throw it right away, held onto that ball, looked down, didn't keep his eyes downfield, tried scrambling and making a play by himself. That's what we saw last night as well. This was the second time in Sam Darnold's career, and I believe it was the second time in the last 15 years that a quarterback has thrown 53 passes and not thrown a touchdown. The other time was Sam Darnold last year when he threw 54.
Yeah, it looked like he was.
Like
he was basically the entire offense and trying to take over the game
right.
when he didn't necessarily have to be.
Right. The Broncos won the game by trying to give the game to the Jets. It wasn't a good game from either side. It was a tale of quarters from Brett Rypien, who started off hot, 10 of 11, 120 yards, a touchdown. After that first interception, he got a little timid. He refused to keep taking shots a little bit. It was more of a, I'm going to try to contain my arm. I don't want to make any mistakes like I used to in college. He was a little inaccurate when he was at the collegiate level. It's really a tale of quarters when you look at this game, and Pierre Desir being a part of those two deep touchdowns with Tim Patrick and Jerry Jeudy, and then getting 2 interceptions and having that pick six. He was really a part of almost every touchdown in this game, good or bad. And when you look at just what Darnold did overall, it wasn't inspiring because he held onto the ball too much. He tried to do too much. He doesn't have the offense surrounding him to do enough. And when your best play is a 50-yard touchdown run, when you're not a running quarterback, that says something.
Yeah, Pierre Desir just seemed to be doing his best Marcus Peters impression. Give up all the big plays, but then make the big plays as well. So he got picked on and bullied. I could not believe that. Definitely, though, biggest takeaway for me is that Bradley Chubb really is the Bradley Chubb that we thought he was going to be. 2.5 sacks. I think he had 5 QB hits, 2 more tackles for loss, a bunch of pressures on the night. He was having his way with either of them. Whether it was you got Fant on one side, and then you've got our boy Mekhi Becton on the other. And it didn't matter which side Chubb lined up, he was getting pressures. I'm very, very impressed and very excited to see him back on the field. He was somebody I considered to be comeback player of the year. Last year we had him chalked up as potential defensive player of the year. He's an outstanding edge rusher. So I'm really excited to see what he can do. Let's move on into what we've seen from the coaching, though, because there was quite a few calls that if the Jets have any form of discipline, they win this game. Two, if Gase, and I know this is one of those things, you take the lead when you can get it, but when you can go get a half a yard and seal this game up in the fourth quarter, did either of you guys think that at that time at least, I know hindsight's 2020, did either of you guys think that they should have gone for it on that fourth down? It was 4.5 yard. They initially gave it to them, and then they challenged. They threw the challenge. It was a great challenge because the spot was terrible. Pulled it back a half yard. But if they convert on that 4.5 yard, it damn near seals up the game. Jake?
Yeah, absolutely. You have to take that chance when you're starting off 0-3 in the league. You need your first win. This isn't I'm going to give you a chance, especially with how bad my defense has been. If they punt that ball, there's a very good chance that they lose this game, and that's what happened. It's really you have to fight for every yard in this league, and when Gase gave them the ball back,
well, they
wasn't.
They kicked the field goal to go up one. Is the drive I'm talking about.
But you have to go for that win. You have to go up. When you go up one, you're giving the ball back to Brett Rypien, who has had a hot start, middle, and now has a chance to go win the game after seeing what your defense has done to backups, second strings, like the Niners last week put up 30. It's not looking good when Gase doesn't have that aggression as a coach. You have to go for that extra half yard.
I 100% agree. Are the Jets bad enough to go 0-16, Jake?
You know what? I mean, they are a pretty bad football team, just like you mentioned before, Jack, with just their offensive line not being consistent. That's a huge, struggle right now for them. They don't have the same kind of defensive, impact defensive players as they did a couple years ago after trading most of them away or them walking away in free. Now 0-16, I don't know about. I think they'll tack on at least one win or two wins in there. I don't think they can lose another 12 straight. I think somewhere along the line, toward the end of the season, they'll at least get one or two wins, but they're a bad enough football team to at least, guarantee themselves a top 5 pick. But I could see them getting a win or two kind of toward the tail end of the year, depending on who they're playing. But they're bad, but I don't know about 0-16 bad. I think, like I said, maybe one or two wins.
See, I'm looking at the schedule right now, and I do not see where they can get it. You're talking about a Denver team that is full of second strings and backups at this point. Basically across the board. They're down wide receivers. They were down a ton. Noah Fant got hurt last night. They're on their third string quarterback. They lost Von Miller. They've their number one pass rusher. Their number one corner. They had every opportunity to win this game. Now you're looking at the rest of the schedule: Arizona, LA. You got Buffalo, Kansas City, New England, Miami twice. Those to me may be the games that they could possibly win. Maybe. Yeah. But then I think Miami, to be honest, if Miami played them last night, I think they would have blown them out. You've got Vegas, Seattle, LA, and then you've got Cleveland and New England to shut out. Maybe if the only way I could see is if New England is got their seed locked up in the playoffs and that they're going to sit all their guys. Right. But then again, they couldn't beat a second string team this last night. What makes us think that they can beat a second string New England team if they pull all their starters, which I just don't see happening. I think New England's going to be in the race fighting for either the one seed or the one spot in their division with Buffalo, but
Mm-hmm.
I definitely think they're going to be fighting for a wild card spot and trying to secure something else. I just think Buffalo. No offense, Jason. I mean, no offense, but I do think that Buffalo right now is the better team. I can't wait to see that matchup, so I won't speak too much on it. But Jason, do you think this is a potential 0-16 team?
I think Adam Gase is a potential 0-16 head coach. Once he gets fired, interims generally have the ability to fire up the team for a week or two. I don't see them going 0-16. I look towards they play Miami twice in 3 weeks after that, following their bye, and following the bye it is at home. So I do look to at MetLife following their bye against Miami, where they might get their first win. That's also a game where we might see Tua for the first time. If Miami's already out of the playoff race, they might not have nothing to lose. So if Tua is in his first start or second start, that's definitely something that Sam Darnold could work with, especially if they have an interim coach.
Yeah, and Greg Williams, I believe 5-3 as an interim coach, and I think he's been an interim like what once or twice now. I think he was what intern for the Browns, and was there another spot that he interned for, or is it just the Browns?
I think it was the Browns.
Yeah, I know he's five and three as an interim coach, and minus a 10-6 season. His very first year with Miami, Adam Gase is a below 500. I think he's 30. He's now 30-37, I believe, as a head coach, and still living off of the one season where he had, or the couple of seasons where he had Peyton Manning as
Right.
his quarterback. And let's be honest, Peyton Manning was the OC, not Adam Gase. Adam Gase was along for the Peyton Manning ride at that point, and he's still living off of that success.
Is it fair to say that Peyton Manning made Adam Gase?
Yes, it is 100% fair. That is the truth. That is the only reason. If not for that one season where Peyton put up the 50 touchdowns and 5,000 yards or whatever it was, I don't think there is an Adam Gase today. So we can
I would probably have to agree with that.
we can talk about this and last night all we want, but I like to try and get into positive news and talk about good things and winning teams. No offense, again there, Jake.
None taken.
But we are going to go through our game previews, give our picks, and then we're going to play a little game of Trap Lock Thrill, which we have not brought back for quite some time because we haven't been able to get a Friday show in for quite some time, in large part due to that Prospect Encyclopedia book that we have spent so much time on as of recent. So, really quick though, guys, if you are interested in purchasing the Prospect Encyclopedia, please go to blitzalytics.com/shop. You can buy individual team pages for only $5, or team sections, I should say. Digital copies for $15, or the physical copy for $35. It is also available on Amazon, Target, Barnes & Noble, and quite a few other online book shops. I do believe that Amazon sold out. So you can get it a little bit faster through our website, but if you want to purchase it through Amazon, I believe they will be restocking their shelves here very, very soon. Let's dive on into these games, starting off with the Cardinals at Panthers. I do believe that the Cardinals are a little banged up. I cannot believe that they dropped a win, or they dropped an L, however you want to put that. I'm not even sure what it would be. But they lost to a bad... I don't know what the Lions are, because once Matt Stafford got back, Kenny Golladay, things changed. The whole offense changed. You got Adrian Peterson, as you put in the Slack chat just the other day. He's on pace for 1,000 yards at like the age of 45 or however old Adrian Peterson is. What's your guys' take on the Cardinals this last week going into this week against the Panthers? There's a chance that DeAndre Hopkins could play. I know he's questionable. I think he will be on the field, but I know our guy Cody Talks NFL, who is live right now as we are recording this, is taking up all the airwaves for Blitzalytics, so we're having to pre-record this. So if any breaking news comes out, we may be a little bit behind. Just to let you guys know. But Cardinals at Panthers, who you guys got and why? Jake, go.
Well, first off,
Jason, go for it. All right, we'll go.
First off, I just want to show it's a mediocre team, and they do have Matt Stafford, who, although it's hard to see just because of how mediocre they've been throughout his entire career, he still is one of the most clutch quarterbacks in the game. And getting back your number one target, who is a top 10 receiver in the league, is definitely going to help that offense move. So the surprise was that they beat Arizona, who is a better football team. However, it was coming. Detroit needed to get something going, and Matt Stafford did that. For this week, I don't see the Panthers doing the same. They don't have Christian McCaffrey, and although Mike Davis has filled in the role of Christian McCaffrey, you can't fill in the shoes fully of an offensive player of the year, a 1,000 rusher. It's not going to look good for the Panthers once they get back to going against the Cardinals. Based on what happened last week, the Cardinals are going to be fired up. They're going to want a win, especially with the Seahawks leading the division.
Jake, go for it. What do you got?
You know what? I'm going to have to agree with Jason on that one. Panthers are down a few key players, and a big key player, obviously, Christian McCaffrey. I think as long as you mentioned D-Hop's questionable, but a lot of times questionable will turn into active. He's on the field. Good things happen. He just had his career high, I believe, a couple weeks ago, 175 yards, somewhere along those lines. So he's played outstanding this season. So as long as Murray and D-Hop are playing their best, I think Cardinals get the win here at Carolina.
Yeah, they got Christian Kirk and DeAndre Hopkins both questionable. Budda Baker is doubtful, so that's gonna hurt. Budda Baker is one of the best safeties in the NFL right now. But on the other side of things, obviously they've got Eli Apple out, they've got Christian McCaffrey out, Russell Okung is questionable, Quan Short and Jeremy Chin, who's questionable, who they've been playing a lot at linebacker actually, and Jeremy Chin's been playing some really good football. I know we got to talk about him quite a bit on the happy hour on Tuesday nights. Tune in every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern. If you want to check out the football happy hour. But I do think that it is going to be a runaway game for the Cardinals. They are heated. They need a win, especially with the Niners still surging, full of backups, and they're still winning games. I do think that this is going to be probably the tightest division in the NFL, where all four teams could win. And I can't wait till we start seeing some divisional matchups in the NFC West, because who knows how good the Seattle Seahawks really are. They've played quite a few questionable teams, Dallas Cowboys, Atlanta Falcons, teams that don't have secondary. Once they start playing the Cardinals, once they start playing the Rams, once they start playing the Niners, who knows what's going to happen with this division. I cannot wait. And, the Niners should have been the team to beat, but they're so banged up, and they still have so many players on both sides of the ball that can make plays. There's a lot of depth for the Niners, so I'm very, very intrigued to see what happens there. To keep moving down, we've got Jaguars at Bengals. I don't want to make this too lengthy, but Joe Burrow, they are basically leaving Joe Burrow out to dry. Jaguars have a young and very talented defense, even with the loss of as many guys as they had. They've got rid of Calais Campbell, AJ Bouye, and Jalen Ramsey all in one season. And yet they still are clicking. They've got the Minshew mania going on. But I do think that this is about time for Zach Taylor to get it right, make sure Joe Mixon gets the ball, make sure that they're able to protect Burrow, because I think he's got 14 sacks in 3 games. He's also got 91 completions on like 130 or 140 passing attempts. Way too many passing attempts for any young quarterback, rookie quarterback, even if it's Joe Burrow, to be throwing the ball that much. What's your guys' takeaway on how they've been managing Burrow? And do you guys think that they can actually get their first win and get Joe Burrow's first win as a Bengal?
In reality, Joe Burrow might be the Bengals' best player on offense, so keeping the ball in his hands isn't the worst strategy. However, you need to have a more balanced team. You have Joe Mixon. Your offensive line may not be good, and you're definitely going to need to build it in order to protect Joe Burrow. You need to be able to run the ball efficiently with Joe Mixon. But you need to get everybody involved, and that includes Joe Mixon first, who is your best skill position player. He is electric with the ball in his hands, either catching the ball or running the ball. And if he can't run the ball because offensive line, get him involved with screens, flats, anything you can do to get Joe Mixon the ball. I do believe that the Bengals will get it right this week, finally get their first win. The Jaguars have been clicking on defense, but they also have been showing signs of holes that weren't able to be filled with those departures that you mentioned earlier. And Gardner Minshew is still a unknown entity. He's Minshew mania some weeks and disappears the others. So we'll see how this game goes, but I do have the Bengals winning.
Jake?
Yeah, I think a lot of things that Jason mentioned, I'd agree with. The Jaguars showed those first couple weeks that, they might be, a team to pay attention to with the way that Gardner Minshew was playing, the really good quarterback ratings that he had those first couple games, making really good, throwing a lot of touchdowns, and then they kind of started falling off a little bit, last week, and things like that. So if this can a game that the Bengals can win and get a win on the board, I think it's going to be this game. Just because, like Jason mentioned too, a couple of holes in the Jacksonville defense and things like that. So if Joe Burrow can have the opportunity to, throw the ball, 40 or 45 times, then so be it. But hopefully Mixon gets involved, like you guys said earlier, and things like that, so that he just doesn't have to kind of carry the load on his shoulders. But I think if the Bengals can beat anybody right now, it's going to be the Jaguars. So I'm going to roll with Cincinnati as well at home.
Clean sweep. I do think the Bengals finally get their first win, but the Jaguars are coming off a mini bye playing last Thursday. Who knows if they can fix their offensive woes? I know DJ Chark's still questionable. They've had major success from Robinson, their undrafted free agent running back, but I do think the Bengals get it right. And for my fantasy football team's sake, Zach Taylor, please run the damn ball. Browns at Cowboys. This is a game I am very, very intrigued. I think this is a game that Baker's fired up for, that Dak's fired up for. I think this might be one of the games of the week. I'm not going to say it's going to be the thriller, but I do think the Browns actually match up quite well against the Cowboys, especially with the injuries at linebacker. I think Nick Chubb can run right through them. I do think that the secondary is atrocious. Clinton Dix hasn't been the answer. I do not understand why they don't go grab Earl Thomas, especially when they are full of those kind of players, these problematic players, locker room troubles. They've always continuously brought these guys in. I mean, look, they even brought back Aldon Smith, who has been balling out. Who would have ever thought that Aldon Smith would take 3 or 4 years off and come back and be better than he was his last year with the Raiders?
If he played his entire career, he would be challenged in the sack.
I 100% agree, but I also think him adding size, adding mass. He was kind of a smaller frame D end, more of a speed rusher who had power, especially when he was playing next to Justin Smith. They were a force, but him bulking up, I think, has done tremendous wonders. He has been ragdolling tackles. I cannot believe that. If you would have told me that, I would have called bullshit 100 times out of 100 times that he was going to come back and have a resurgence as a Dallas Cowboy. But what you guys take on the Browns and Cowboys? Jake, I'm going to start off with you and let you get your first take in. The Cowboys need a win. I mean, they should run away with this division. They have enough talent offensively, but when you completely lack anything on the defense side of the ball, especially in the back half. We see that with the Seattle Seahawks. We see that with the Cowboys. We see that with the Atlanta Falcons. It's hard to win games. Jake?
Yeah, so in terms of the Browns at Cowboys, this is between the other two games that we talked about. This game's probably, it's a toss-up for me. Cowboys have showed a lot of, inconsistencies with, scoring a lot of points, but then giving up a ton of points. That has shown to be consistent so far. So, and then the Browns are just kind of, they've won 2 straight, but we still don't know what kind of team they're going to be. So honestly, kind of a toss-up, but I think my mind steers toward the Cowboys winning this one. I think I think they'll put up another 30-plus points against defense, and I think they'll win by a couple touchdowns.
Jason, what do you got?
Yeah, this is definitely gearing up to be one of the games of the week. They match up very, very well. The Browns' offense isn't the best, but Baker's been playing very well. Nick Chubb can run right through this defense. Kareem Hunt's going to get involved pass catching the ball as well as running. It'll be a 1-2 punch like it's been all season. The difference is I do believe the Cowboys have more offensive firepower. I think Dak's going to be fired up this week, and they need a win. Starting off 1-2 is not a recipe for success, although they are still second in the division and technically tied for first with the entire division at 1-2. I don't know what the Cowboys defense can do to improve. Definitely adding Earl Thomas would be better, but I think Dak Prescott has a mission this week, and it will be a Cowboys win.
If Tyron Smith plays, they win the game. Tyron Smith doesn't play, I would be nervous as a Dallas Cowboys fan. You got Chidobe Awuzie out. They've got Cameron Irving out. They've got Lael Collins out. Like Sean Lee out. Leighton Vander Esch out. Blake Jarwin out. Like, I mean, there's so many. Joe Looney may or may not play. He's questionable as well. I mean, they are so hurting, and they are so desperate to get these guys back and get these guys healthy. I see a possibility, especially with if there is no Tyron Smith, how is Dak going to survive that pocket when you have oh man, I'm just lost my train of thought. You have what's his name coming after the quarterback like a bat out of hell.
Garrett.
Yeah, and he had Myles Garrett had 2 sacks, 2.5 sacks last game. Had a strip sack on Dwayne Haskins.
Yep.
It's not going to be good, and I honestly do think that this could be. I mean, how are you going to say it can't be the the trap game when Cleveland's 2-1 and the Cowboys are 1-2? But
right.
Just historically, you would assume that Cowboys are going to be favored in this game. Cowboys should win it. I would be a little nervous though if I'm Cowboys fans right now. I know the Cowboys are a 4.5 point favorite, but if you can't stop Jarvis, if you can't stop OBJ, if you can't stop Nick Chubb, I think Baker might have a heyday. I think Baker might have a career day this weekend. So I'm really intrigued into that one. That one's gonna be a hell of a game. All right, we got Saints at Lions. Drew Brees, I got one little stat. I think it's since 2017. But basically, Brees has not won a game without Michael Thomas since 2017. I believe is a stat I heard last night or I heard this morning. I think it's 2017 or 2018, but it's been a while. It's been 3 or 4 seasons since Brees has been able to do it without MT. And I don't think that if Michael Thomas doesn't play again, this is going to be a struggle. They have some guys that can at least somewhat slow down Alvin Kamara. Kamara has been their entire passing game. Kamara has basically been their entire offense. Brees is the lowest in yards per attempt for any quarterback who's played all 3 games. He's the lowest air yards per attempt. He is the lowest. I think he's got 10 completions of 15 or more yards. This used to be a player who had 10 or more completions of 15 more yards in a single game. We've been talking about this for quite some time, that Brees' arm can't hold up for all 16 games. We've seen it back-to-back years. We've seen his body not being able to hold up for back-to-back years. I think coming into this season, his body isn't even what it used to be. And so I'm worried about the Saints from an analyst standpoint. I am excited for the Saints to be falling apart like this as a Bucs fan. And if the Bucs weren't shooting themselves in the foot over and over and over again week 1, this would be an 0-3 Saints team. Anyone?
Yeah, definitely. The Saints are definitely in trouble without Michael Thomas. He is a big, big, big part of that Saints offense, and you can't replace a Michael Thomas who had 140 receptions last year. There's just too much passing game that goes through Michael Thomas, and Drew Brees doesn't even have to be great when Michael Thomas is on the field. He just has to put it in the vicinity of Michael Thomas, and he'll catch the ball. it's definitely a different offense. There's definitely areas for concern. But when you're going team for team, player for player, and personnel, I'm taking Sean Payton over Matt Patricia. I'm taking the Saints defense over the Lions defense. I'm still probably going to take Drew Brees over Matt Stafford, even with how Brees is playing, just because Matt Stafford's been so off and on throughout his entire career. But with the Saints, if Michael Thomas plays, it's going to be a Saints game. The Saints are 100% going to win the game with Michael Thomas in the lineup, even if he's not 100%. If he's just acting as a decoy, gets a couple receptions, I believe that the Saints can do enough to win the game. And without Michael Thomas, it's definitely going to be one of the games to watch. It will come down to the wire. But with the personnel that the Saints have, the defense that the Saints have, and the coaching that the Saints have, I would give the edge to the Saints.
Jake, who do you got winning this game?
Yeah, I'm going to go with New Orleans as well, just because of the fact that I don't believe Detroit. You mentioned they may have a couple guys that might be able to, but just in this instance, in this game, I think Kamara goes crazy again, and I don't think they'll have the full capability of 4 quarters to stop Alvin Kamara. And this is, of course, if Michael Thomas doesn't play. Now, what I've been hearing is that Michael Thomas has apparently been looking really good in practice, and I think he's questionable now. So there's a good chance that Thomas, will be able to play and Brees will have him back. And yeah, maybe Father Time has been catching up to Brees. People are saying, just by looking at him in the Green Bay game, yeah, there was some throws that he made that he should have made, 2 or 3 years ago, but he just didn't. So I'm still going to take the edge for the Saints just because of the fact they are playing this Detroit defense, and I think Kamara goes crazy. And even if they have Thomas back, that's just an additional plus for Drew Brees. So I'm rolling with the Saints.
I did misspoke. I misspoke earlier. The Detroit Lions are 30th in terms of run defense and are averaging 172 yards given up per game. So I do think Alvin Kamara is going to
crazy.
I did like there is some linebackers I do like coming into this season for Detroit. I did write the section of the prospect encyclopedia for them, and I did point out that they were a weakness, but they do have some guys there that I did like. So I did misspoke a little bit on that one. So Alvin Kamara is probably going to run wild. It's going to be a heyday, and yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if Lat Murray gets into the end zone either.
With as many points they're giving up, I could see it. All right, we have an 0-3 matchup. The desperate Minnesota Vikings versus the extremely desperate Houston Texans. Texans had probably a rough start. I mean, they faced, or was it KC, Baltimore, Pittsburgh. That's a rough 3-game stretch, and the Vikings look to have finally get back in stride. Their defense played a little bit better. Their defense held, I think, Ryan Tannehill to his worst game, statistically worst game as a Tennessee Titan, at least during the regular season. I'm interested to see this one because the Minnesota Vikings did look good. Even in a loss last week, they did look good. They have a young secondary. Every defense is giving up more yards than they're expected to because of the shortened offseason, because of the lack of any preseason, lack of being able to tackle. I don't think that defenses are as prepared this year as they've been in the past. We always see this. The first few weeks of the season are the biggest scoring in terms of fantasy football, most points, but this has been the most points, the most yards, the least amount of turnovers ever put up in the NFL through the first 3 weeks. So defenses are struggling. Minnesota Vikings have an extremely young secondary. They have an extremely young defense. They're down a few of their starters, and on top of that, they got rid of quite a few cornerstones of that defense. They got rid of Xavier Rhodes. They got rid of Linval Joseph. They got rid of Everson Griffin. And although they did replace them with some good guys, it has not been the same. But when you see Justin Jefferson come out and ball like he did, 7 for 175 and a touchdown last week, it looks like they're finally getting on track, at least offensively. And on the other side of the ball, Texans did have a good game against the Steelers, but there's just a depletion of talent on both sides of the ball for them, and it shows. I don't understand. Think about if they were willing to pay their guys. Like, they would still have a left tackle. They would still have the number one wide receiver in the game. They would still have Jadeveon Clowney. Like, they have the cap space to do it right now. Like, if you look at the money that they had and they have had, if that was their team, this team would be good right now. Instead, and you have to think about it, if they still have their left tackle, they traded away for nickels and dimes and going and get a left tackle who has led the league in penalties from the left tackle position, and they had to give up a king's ransom for. It's just baffling that Billy O still has his job. Do you think that if they lose this game, I do think because Billy O is the general manager that he's going to have a little bit more leeway this season. But at what point do they pull the plug, especially if the Vikings are able to win in Houston this weekend? And also, which team is more desperate, Jason?
Well, on BOB, you should have started thinking about pulling the plug when there was talks about Nuke leaving the building.
Oh shit!
But for this game, I do believe that both teams are going to come out with their hair on fire. Both teams are very desperate for a win. Only 6 of 182 teams that started 0-3 have made the playoffs. That's 3.2% of teams.
Weren't the Texans one of them? Just a couple years back?
Yeah, yes, they were. But that was with Nuke. That was a different team than what the Texans have right now. Deshaun Watson has not looked like Deshaun Watson. He's been inaccurate. He's been trying to push the ball downfield. He's been trying to do too much. And DJ has had some trouble just because of the defense that they've played. I think this week DJ is going to turn it up a little bit against a bad Vikings front. But look for Dalvin Cook to have a little bit of an edge on that front. Dalvin Cook's going to have one of the games of the year this week. He's going to follow up last week's performance with another high-powered ground game, as well as get some receptions through the air. I do think the Vikings are going to take this win, putting the Texans at 0-4, just because Watson's been totally downplayed without his favorite target in Nuke. The offense hasn't looked in sync, and the Vikings coaching is just a little better.
Jake?
I'm actually going to disagree with Jason on this one. I'm going to go with Houston just because of the fact that the Texans actually did look, really good in game, most of the game against Pittsburgh, a really good Pittsburgh defense. I was just shocked that they were hanging in there with them. And granted, yes, Pittsburgh did get the win, but the fact that Houston was able to put up 21 or just over 20 points in that game against a really good Pittsburgh defense, that to me showed that, they're kind of gaining traction back a little bit. So, and I know they are playing a Minnesota defense with all of those, departures, as you mentioned, Jack, that, left over the offseason. So I'm going to roll with Houston. I feel good that they can, take the win at home against kind of a depleted Minnesota Vikings defense. If Houston can play the way they did against Pittsburgh, against a really good Pittsburgh defense, and why can't they do the same with a worse, Minnesota defense? So I'm gonna roll with the Texans here at home.
So Minnesota has the worst defense in the league right now, while Houston has the one of the best passing defenses, which is, to me, is just mind-blowing that those guys that make up that secondary have equated to the third best passing defense, but they are 32nd against the rush. So Dalvin Cook is going to have a heyday, and when Dalvin Cook has a heyday, the play action is there, and the Gary Kubiak offense is predicated on the play action. Kirk Cousins' passer rating is outstanding when he can actually get the play action versus just having to drop back and pass. It helps out that offensive line. It helps out, both of those wide receivers to be able to get open. It showed last week when they were able to kind of really force the run, and then that opens up the pass game. So I'm going to go Minnesota in this one, but we do have, at the end of the day, this is Kirk Cousins versus Deshaun Watson. And if Watson is able to take this game over, I would not be shocked. It's something that probably should happen sooner or later. He did do that against one of the best top 3 defense in the league. I don't know if I can call the Steelers the number 1 defense in the league. Top 3 for sure. You can make a case for them, the Bucks or the Colts at this point. But I would say that the Steelers have faced weaker opponents. The Bucks have faced the toughest schedule offense or versus the offense. And then I would say Indy's had a pretty easy run as well. But that's just the homer in me. If we're gonna move on down, this should be a blowout. I wouldn't see how it wouldn't be, except for the fact that Ryan Fitzmagic is facing the worst secondary in the history of the NFL through 3 weeks. Worst secondary, I think the second worst defense of all time. And so you have Ryan Fitzmagic possibly, coming off of an extended week, again, the mini bye, when we talked about earlier with Jacksonville. Do you think that we see another showcasing of the Ryan Fitzmagic show, Jason? I know you've been there in Tampa. You've seen it in person. Can he replicate that magic 2 weeks in a row? Because it was always, it would flash, and then it would be gone, and then it would be there, and it would be gone. It'd show up for a half, and then you get Fitzpatrick again. But this is a bad Seahawks defense that had zero form of a pass rush. When LJ Collier is your best pass rusher, and a year ago we were calling it an awful pick and one of the worst picks in a long time. What's your take on this? Do the Dolphins have any chance at winning this game? If not, how many points? What's the over on this? Because I feel like they're going to at least put up 70, 75 points easy.
So, no, the Dolphins do not have much of a chance of winning this game. The Seahawks will be 4-0 following this week. However, we are going to see a glimpse of the chains and the sunglasses from Fitzmagic that he wore during that Buccaneers press conference a couple years ago. Fitzmagic against this Seahawks defense is going to show up for at least a half. If he falls apart in the second half, fourth quarter, that's what he does. That's what we've known him to do. But this game is going to remain close just because Russell Wilson is throwing the ball. It's going to be a high-scoring game, and the Dolphins are going to need to throw the ball to keep up with it. I do believe that it's going to be a close game or semi-close game, probably 2 possession heading into the fourth quarter, and at that point, the Seahawks are just going to blow it off.
Jake, what's your take on this game?
So my take on this game is that Miami will not win, and Seattle will come into Miami and take the win. And I think Russell Wilson goes off like he has been, just at his MVP pace. I think he'll at least pass for 4 touchdowns and get to sub 300 yards in terms of passing yards. And I don't know, in terms of the Seattle defense, I don't really understand how it could be historically bad at this point with the kind of players that they have. With a Jamal Adams, but Jamal Adams has been more of a run stopper, I guess. But they still kind of have Griffin there in the secondary, Jamal Adams, people like that. So I don't know why they, really haven't been showing up the past couple weeks. But regardless, I think Seattle comes into Miami and wins by a few scores, and Russell Wilson will have another fantastic game.
All right, so if I'm looking at the schedule right now,
would Earl Thomas rather be retired or go back to flipping off Pete Carroll on their sideline?
There's no way Pete Carroll allows him back in the locker room. But to be honest though, him and Jamal Adams would equal arguably the best safety duo of all time. Maybe?
Pretty close.
Question mark? Possibly?
Pretty close.
But I'm looking at the Seahawks schedule right now, and they play the Dolphins this week, they play the Vikings next week, and then they have a bye, and then they're at Cardinals, Niners, Bills, Rams, Cardinals, finally we'll
Okay.
see an actual stretch. But they are definitely going 5-0, in my opinion. The case being that if Minnesota finally gets their stuff together, like we've kind of seen them slowly start to pick up momentum in the last couple weeks, the Vikings have kind of been, I wouldn't say they're kryptonite. Vikings are definitely the Saints' kryptonite, have been for years. But I do remember, was it last season, year before, Vikings put up a hell of a, what was it? Yeah, I would say it was what? A year? It was last season? 2 seasons ago when they put up a good fight against Seattle Seahawks. But I see them going 5-0 and starting to run away with the division before they go through a murderous row, which again is the Cardinals, Niners, Bills, Rams, and then Cardinals again. And then the schedule lightens back up for them. The NFC West just has they've kind of got a cakewalk, and I could see 3, even 4 teams. This year is the first year we could ever see 4 teams from one division go. And I have never been on this train before, but I do think that we might have to readdress the situation for the playoffs. And if there is a team or a division like the NFC East that can't even get above 500, then I don't think they have any right to be in the playoffs. So we might have to address that. That's getting way off topic, but I could see that happening. Do you guys think that the NFC West could send all 4 teams?
I don't think it's with the addition of the 7th seed, it might be possible. With 6 seeds, I don't think it was possible at any given time.
It wouldn't be. But now it is.
But with
this year,
with the 7th seed, I definitely think it's possible. I would think that the Rams would be the odd man out in that scenario, though. I don't think the Rams are going to be able to keep up the pace that they've gone with the talent that they have. So no, I don't think all 4 teams will make the playoffs, but they're all going to be 100% in it down the stretch.
All right, we are taking quite a bit of time with this 3-take rotation. So we're going to kind of run through some of these quicker games, and then we'll jump back into some of these games that are a little bit more exciting. Ravens at Washington. Agreed. Ravens are going to smash. It's going to be a get right game. Lamar Jackson's probably going to go off, even with a pretty good pass rush. Will you guys both agree?
Play the Ravens defense.
Absolutely.
Play the Ravens defense in all fantasy formats. DFS. I believe they're at 5,000 in DFS. Buy them, get them. Whatever you can do to get the Ravens defense on your team for this week, it's going to be a massacre. And Dwayne Haskins might be saying bye to the starting offense after this week.
All right, Chargers at. Sorry, go for it, Jake.
Oh, I was gonna say, Ravens get the win at Washington, easy peasy.
All right, Chargers at Bucks. Believe it or not, I'm kind of a little worried about this game. This is kind of a game where I feel like it should be easy. Justin Herbert. It's not a trap game in the sense that I think it actually is going to happen. I'm just worried about Justin Herbert making me eat my own words after a whole season or a whole draft season of me talking shit on him and not liking him as a quarterback. He has thrown for 300 yards the past couple games. I do see Tom Brady not allowing that to happen. They do have a good defense, but now Chris Harris Jr. is out for a while. They've been banged up on both sides of the ball. I don't see them, if they can't run the ball and they're forcing Justin Herbert to throw 30, 40 times this week, I think it could be bad. But I'm nervous. I'm nervous about my own words. Not that I'm jinxing anything. I don't believe in superstition. I say that, but I do wear specific socks on Sunday. I do have I have my stuff that I do, but I don't believe in superstition. But I'm nervous. Do you guys think that there's any chance that Tom Brady and the number 1 defense in the league, my personal opinion, number 1 defense in the league, gets it done or can't get it done at home against a West Coast team?
So I do think it's a possibility. Do I think it's going to happen? No. Just because I do believe that this will be a welcome to the NFL moment for Justin Herbert. I don't believe he's going to have 3 300-yard games to start his career. I do believe he's going to make some mistakes. It will be an Austin Eckler game, and he does have the offense surrounding him, Keenan Allen and Hunter Henry, and I believe that Hunter Henry is going to have a 5-reception, 60-yard, 1-touchdown game. It's going to be a phenomenal outing for Hunter Henry against a defense that's been pretty friendly over the years, 2 tight ends. However, when the Buccaneers are at full strength on offense, we saw what they could do. We've only seen it for about 2 quarters this year so far. Chris Godwin will not be playing. However, Scotty Miller will take over that role this week. and I believe that the Buccaneers are just going to roll past the Chargers. The possibility that the Buccaneers do not win is on the days that Bosa and Ingram can pressure Brady, because when Brady's pressured, he'll be thrown off. However, I really don't think that the amount of pressure that they can get on Tom Brady in this game will be enough for the Chargers to win.
Yeah, I'm the Buccaneers as well at home. If we see anything like what you guys saw in the Denver game when the Bucs came to Denver, when they pressured Brett Rippon, who's practically, that was his first few snaps that he took, and the way that they pressured Driscoll, I think that will translate to them pressuring and getting to Justin Herbert. And I think the Buccaneers will get the win, and they'll kind of scamper by the Chargers.
So we're talking, I don't know if you guys seen this. Defensive rookie of the month, Antoine Winfield Jr. Defensive player of the month, Levante David. Defensive player of the week this last week was Shaq Barrett. So those three alone, I think, is going to be enough to get this job done. Sean Murphy-Bunting is questionable. Chris Godwin is out. Justin Watson is probable. Scotty Miller is questionable. Leonard Fournette hasn't practiced all week and is also considered questionable. But Melvin Ingram has headed to IR. You've got Brian Bulaga questionable. Chris Harris Jr. is headed to IR. Joey Bosa is even a little bit banged up and is felon on the injury report. And then Trey Turner as well is questionable. Do I think all of those guys play? Yes. But it's going to be an issue. They lost Mike Pouncey for the year. They lost Derwin James for the year. If they were at full strength, again, I'd be a little bit more nervous. I'm just nervous about eating my own words. But when you talk about a team that is stacked, and they have a lot of depth. They have a lot more depth than people gave them credit for. From the wide receiving core to the running back room, as long as they can contain Joey Bosa, and like you said, when Tom Brady senses pressure, those throws are a little bit off. If he's not planting his feet, if it's not a perfect setup, then he can be a little off at times. The deep ball has been there. I think the deep ball will be there. Nasir Adderley is kind of banged up as well. And so there's a lot of opportunity for this passing offense to have a heyday. And I do expect Rojo to have a decent game. They fed him pretty well last week, but I wish and I hope that we can see a little bit more from Leonard Fournette moving forward, because some of those runs that Rojo goes down on, Leonard Fournette does not fall. He does not fall to ankle tackles and to arm tackles. He runs right through those. So I think that is going to be the biggest thing. If we got a healthy Leonard Fournette coming into this weekend, I think it's going to be a blowout. But either way, I expect Justin Herbert to finally come down to earth. And like you said, I'm very excited for this welcome to the NFL game that should happen. So again, we'll go through these, and then we have one more big game to talk about. Colts at Bears. Although I do like Nick Foles, big Nick is a monster and has been playing lights out. Anytime he gets the opportunity to, some of those balls were just amazing. He had a few he got lucky on a few of them, but those were some beautifully thrown balls. I just think that the Colts are going to be too much. Jonathan Taylor is going to be too much. Phillip Rivers just has to not mess up and not be Phillip Rivers and just not throw interceptions, and there is a chance. But this is the Bears. This is a Bears, stout defense. It could happen. I got the Colts. You guys with me?
Yeah, the Colts definitely.
I might actually go the Bears.
Really?
Yeah, I might actually go with the Bears. Just the way that Foles took command of that offense the last quarter there in the Atlanta game. He was making really good reads and some good throws, and he's really been known to do that, hasn't he? Just over his career, just going back to Philly, just coming in and making things happen. Like, that's just who Nick Foles has been. So I'm gonna go a little bit of an upset here. I don't know really who's favored in this game, but I'm gonna say Chicago by a couple of hairs.
I think I know what his trap game is gonna be. Bills at Raiders. Raiders are banged up as can be. They got beat by the Patriots pretty bad, but I was kind of impressed at the same time. They were able to contain Cam Newton. again, that Patriots offense, you don't know what you're getting from a week-to-week basis. And the Raiders had been really good against the run. They were able to stop Cam Newton as a runner, but they weren't able to stop the rest of them. And so I kind of give them credit for at least kind of containing and maintaining, Cam Newton, and that was the focal point. Stop Cam Newton, limit his passing opportunities. They did pretty well, but they're very, very banged up. They're now down. What was it? Damon Arnett. They're down quite a few guys on both sides of the ball. Jacobs has been banged up. Waller's banged up. The offensive line's banged up. So as much as I like the Raiders this year, Josh Allen, my homeboy Josh Allen, and the Buffalo Bills will roll the Raiders this week in Vegas, and it's sad to say they're going to take their first first L in Vegas this week. You guys think differently? Everybody in agreement on this one?
I don't see
Agreed.
too much of a chance for the Raiders. The Raiders have been playing very well. I think they're going to surprise us as the season goes on. But the Bills are going to be 4-0, and I do believe that they're going to be up 2 games in the division.
Jake?
Yeah, no, I'm rolling with the Bills. Like you said, some banged up players on that Oakland defense and on the offensive side as well. And Josh Allen, my God, he's really good, and I'm a big Josh Allen fan as well. So I'm gonna say Bills in this game at Vegas.
So yeah, they're down Trent Brown, Nick Kwiatkowski, Henry Ruggs, Denzel Good's been limited. Josh Jacobs been limited in practice. Darren Waller's been limited in practice. Sam Young's been limited in practice. All of these guys I have talked about in the Prospect Encyclopedia. Damon Arnett is a full go, even with that thumb injury, which I know they got a second opinion on. Brian Edwards has been limited, and so Richie Incognito hasn't practiced. There's some stuff to worry about. I would be questioned about the Raiders right now, and they have the roughest next few weeks, known to man. They play the Bills, they play the Chiefs, they have a bye week to get healthy, then they play the Bucks. So as much as it was nice to see them go 2-0, I think they're going to lose 4 straight before they get it back on track and their schedule lightens up. So Raiders fans, be patient. It's going to suck for a few weeks until it gets better. And once it gets better, I think you guys are going to have a nice little winning streak. I think you'll win 3 or 4 in a row, probably 3 in a row, lose again to the Chiefs, and then Falcons, Jets, Colts, Chargers, Dolphins, Broncos to wrap up the season. Expect a nice little winning streak in that pattern, and they're going to be in playoff contention. A healthy Raiders team can match up very well against any of these teams. They just need these pieces to be healthy, and that's been the biggest thing and their biggest issue this season. So we've all got the Bills, Giants at Rams. Rams all day, right? Like, this is not even no questions asked.
Close.
They win by 15 plus.
Rams.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll jump back into this one, but to the main game I want to talk about before we take off. Eagles at Niners. Do we think that Nick Mullins can keep this up with a very, very struggling Eagles team?
Yeah, I do believe that the 49ers are going to win this game. Will it be pretty? Probably not. But Carson Wentz has been historically bad. It's his worst start to his career. He has no weapons. They had 1 receiver at practice yesterday.
That's so sad.
Dallas Goedert's gone. They have Hakeem Butler coming in. This will be his first game with the team. He's only practiced once, and they're moving him to tight end.
What?
This is not going to be a pretty game for the Eagles. And although it might not be the smoothest sailing for the 49ers that we might be accustomed to, and especially once they get their pieces back, the 49ers will take it.
Yeah, this is a Sunday night matchup. I wish they were already flexing games because I don't think this one should be on a Sunday night. Jake, what's your take?
Yeah. Well, yeah, they were anticipating it was going to be, Garoppolo with Garoppolo against kind of Carson Wentz when Carson Wentz was hopefully going to be good these first few weeks, but that just hasn't been the case. So, Nick Mullins is really nice. I like Nick Mullins a lot, and I think he's a good fit to Shanahan's offense. So he's looked really good the past couple weeks, and I think he'll continue that this week with against Philly's defense. So, and they're at home as well, which who knows? I don't know if there's any to that game, but regardless, I think 49ers take it here against Philly.
The Niners have 17 players on IR, 18 players out total. Kittle's expected to come back. Mosley's questionable. Witherspoon's questionable. Jarrett McKinnon's questionable. Drake Greenlaw's questionable. Jimmy Garoppolo is questionable, likely not to play. And then Raheem Mostert is, again, likely to play. Again, also questionable on that injury report. And then the same thing for the Eagles, though. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 guys out total. 14 on IR. And another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 questionable. This is going to be bad, but the Eagles' offensive line, forget the weapons. The Eagles' offensive line so banged up that they had to they cut Jason Peters and they brought him back, and now he might not even be a go this week either. If that's the case, then a limited, basically, I mean, D Ford's out. They just have 2 stud defensive tackles. And those stud defensive tackles for the San Francisco 49ers and Javon Kinlaw and Eric Armstead are going to be in their face all day, every day. You know, every play, it's not going to be good. I expect probably, I know this should be closer, but I do think the Niners, especially at home, it's going to be bad. I think this is going to be a game where people really start to question what the Eagles are going to do all season. And I think the Eagles are on pace to be a top 5 to a top 10 pick, even with the division being as bad as they are, and them only being a game or 2 out of first place or tied for first place, whatever it is. Falcons at Packers. Falcons have all this offensive talent. They have all this weaponry. The Packers have absolutely no weaponry right now. Allen Lazard came out and had a career-high game last week. With Devontae Adams being down, and now he's out indefinitely with a core injury. Is there any way the Falcons stand a chance? This has been the most talent and least production I have ever seen in terms of win columns from a team. Like, they have what? How many first round picks? And this just has not panned out. This has not put it. Can Atlanta
11
Can Atlanta
first round picks
fix
on their
this,
offense.
or is this just impossible? Like, it doesn't matter who Aaron Rodgers is throwing to, they're going to win no matter what.
Can Atlanta fix it? No. Can Atlanta still win games? Yes. Is this game going to be a blowout? No. Is it going to be close? Yes. Are the Falcons going to win? No. The reason the Falcons aren't going to win is because their coach, Dan Quinn, is still the head coach.
It's the truth.
The Packers are one of the best teams in the league. And that's without much offensive talent. Devontae Adams was out. He's questionable, likely to come back this week. Allen Lazard is gone, but Marquez Valdes-Scantling is still in. And Aaron Jones, still one of the top backs in the league. Let's hope he gets paid soon because the Packers have not valued him as a top back, but he has performed again week in and week out. I do believe that Aaron Jones is going to have a phenomenal outing. I do believe that Devontae Adams is going to eat the secondary if he does play. And although it will be close, the Packers are going to take it.
Jake.
Yeah, I agree with Jason. I think to me this is going to be a shootout. I think it'll be a high-scoring game, but I'm going to take the Packers at home over Atlanta, and I think Aaron Rodgers is going to have another really good game. He's had an outstanding start to the year. Guy seems ageless. He really does. He's the most talented quarterback I think I've ever seen play the game, talent-wise, I should say. So he's just been outstanding. Aaron Jones has been really, phenomenal the past couple games. And yeah, Atlanta's shown they've given up, quite a bit of points. And yeah, they do put up points on the board, but they just can't seem to be finding the win, blowing those leads against Dallas and against whoever else they were playing. I think maybe it was Seattle the week before. But at any rate, two weeks 2 weeks in a row where they blew those leads. They could show they could put up points. They're going to put up points, I think, in this game. I think Green Bay takes the win.
The only two stat lines needed is number one scoring offense versus 32nd ranked scoring defense or points allowed. It's going to be bad. It's going to be I think it's going to be a 50 burger by the Green Bay Packers, and I think Atlanta puts up 35, 38 points maybe, but it doesn't matter. Like, I think Robert Tanya is going to get 1 or 2 touchdowns, and like nobody even knows who Robert Tanya is. When we don't even do a scouting report on somebody that's saying something, they find guys off the street and make them, all pros. And so I think that the tight end's going to have a career day. I think that Devontae Adams is going to have a hell of a day against this secondary. And again, when you just completely neglect your secondary and think that I can just keep adding firepower to our offense and that's going to make up for it, you're never going to win games like that. And so even I think the Seahawks are another one of those teams that is as much firepower as you have, come the later part of the season, come playoff time, you're not going to be able to win like that. So that to me is the biggest downfall for this team. Now we're going to drop back again because we just went all the way to the Monday night game. This is the biggest game I want to talk about, the game I am most intrigued about. Patriots at Chiefs. Cam Newton versus Patrick Mahomes. They've never played each other, if I'm not mistaken. I am excited for this. I want to know, can Cam Newton keep up with Patty and this high-powered, potent Kansas City offense that is surging right now, that basically made Baltimore their bitch. Like, I will say it. It was bad. It was not even close. That game was a lot closer on the scoreboard than it was, through the eye test. Jason, as a Patriots fan, do you think you guys have a chance? And do you think that this run-heavy Cam Newton offense can put up points through the air against a banged-up KC secondary?
As far as threats to the Chiefs, although I'm still not the biggest fan of Cam, he's playing very well. I do like to have him. He's not our future. I don't believe he's our future. But as far as biggest threat to the Chiefs, there are only a handful of teams in the AFC that could match up with them for firepower with firepower, and that's just because of coaching and defense. And the Patriots are one of them. Do I think that they win this game? No. Do I think that they can beat the Chiefs in the playoffs? No. But is it going to be a good game? Is it going to be a thriller? Yes, it will. It will probably be the game of the week. Everybody will have their eyes glued to the screen on this. It will come down to the wire. And just like it did with the Seahawks, it might come down to offensive play call.
Jake, who you got winning this game?
I got the Chiefs winning this game, and I think New will be able to hang in there a little bit for maybe the first few quarters, just because Baltimore did show that they can get through the gaps of Kansas City's defense. And will New England be able to do that as well? Yeah, they will. But I don't know if they can sustain that for 4 quarters. And because of the fact they won't be able to sustain that, then Pat Mahomes will come back with that offense and continue to score another few touchdowns on that New England defense. So I'm going to choose the Chiefs over the Pats in this one, and yeah, I think it'll be a pretty good game. To be like what Jason was saying, it could be game of the week, and there might be a lot of points scored. But I think the Chiefs offense it'll be too much for New England to take in.
All right, gentlemen, I appreciate you guys tuning in, or I appreciate you guys coming on. I appreciate everybody, all of our listeners tuning in to the Blitz Breakdown. I think we're on like episode 171, 172, something like that. We're starting to roll through. We're going to try and get back to this 2-a-week schedule. Hopefully, we also are, got conflicting times with Cody Talks NFL. We're going to have to figure all this out. We got too many shows now. It's a good problem to have when you got too many shows and you don't know what time to be running shows at. So make sure you guys tune in to the Blitz Breakdown. I think we're going to get back to a Monday, Friday schedule. And we'll give you guys game previews and Thursday night recaps every Friday. Gentlemen, you guys have any hot takes before we take on out of here? Any predictions for the rest of the week? No? All right.
I'm just hoping for another good week. another good week of football. We've seen a lot of injuries the past few weeks again, so hopefully teams can, adapt to who they have just on their rosters and, just play at their best. But hoping for another good week of football.
Tell these people where they can find you on online.
You can find me on
Oh, where they-
Twitter at Feiner Scores. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Look forward to it, Jason. Let's make this a regular scheduled event. Where can they find you on Twitter, Jake?
They can find me at I believe it's Jake _Schellenberg 34. That's kind of like my Blitzalytics and kind of my working Twitter, not my personal one, but my working one. So yeah, you can find me on Twitter or on Instagram as well. I do have an Instagram, Jake _the_snake78. So they can find me on there. And yeah, those are kind of the two that I use. So yeah, hopefully everyone can give me a follow on either Twitter or Instagram.
Look forward to it, guys. Again, we will try to get you guys back on next week with me, and hopefully Rob will be back from illness and ailment. Hoping you a speedy recovery, sir. This has been the Blitz Breakdown presented by Blitzalytics.com, where scouting meets analytics and you meet the newest crop of off-field talent. Big shout out to our sponsors, Key City Brewing, Drink, Rebel, Repeat. Blitz out.